Often assertions that cannot be proved.
When a candidate says, I strongly oppose this, the inference one's supposed to make, according to the candidate, is, my opponent must favor it. Often when a candidate says, I strongly oppose this, the opponent does too.
I will not allow this country to be made weak again.
I want to build a strong defense. I'm sure he wants to build a strong defense. So this isn't about defense issues. It's about dragging the truth into the gutter.
Let this generation of Americans set a standard of responsibility that will inspire the world.
This particular phone only rings in a serious crisis. Keep it in the hands of a man who's proven himself responsible.
Political advertising has never been used to point out all the facts. Instead, its job is to point out differences.
And now, suddenly, George Bush says he'll be the education president. Michael Dukakis won't just give us slogans. He's committed to a new national college loan program to make sure that any American kid can afford to go to college.
I have personally no difficulty at all in saying that when people are forced to choose, forced to decide between 2 or 3 candidates, as the case might be, it's the responsibility of the campaign to present your candidate not only in the best possible light, but in a light that contrasts most starkly with that of your opponents.
Now for our fifth and final question. Do political consultants purposely make controversial campaign spots in order to make the news?
As a candidate, Michael Dukakis called Boston Harbor an open sewer. As governor, he had the opportunity to do something about it, but chose not to. The Environmental Protection Agency called his lack of action the most expensive public policy mistake in the history of New England. Now, Boston Harbor, the dirtiest harbor in America, will cost residents $6 billion to clean. And Michael Dukakis promises to do for America what he's done for Massachusetts.
Everybody produces in hopes it'll get picked up by the news. The only way it will get picked up by the news is if you attack the opponent. They'll never put a positive ad on.
Roger Ailes, creator of some of the more newsworthy positive and negative ads of the 1988 campaign, gives his version of the rules of the game.
The news media is really interested in pictures, mistakes, attacks, and polls. If you give the news media anything except one of those 4 things, you're never going to get covered. And so the audience has become trained to look for one of those 4 things. So we try to do that in our commercials as well.
For all that's happened in 40 years of presidential advertising on television, we've probably only just scratched the surface of its possibilities. Look what's happening now.
Friends, Jerry Brown is not only a brilliant guy, but he's been a personal friend of mine for 25 years. And I want you to vote for him. And I want you to vote for him, too.
I am voting for him. I think this is the first time we ever agreed on anything.
Hey, Rob, what about that 800 number?
Call the 800 number.
In 1992, 1-800 numbers have become an effective means to raise campaign funds. We're also seeing research techniques become super sophisticated, giving candidates more data on you, the voter, than they ever had before.
What's going on is a kind of a dialogue back and forth, using polling to listen to the voter and using television to talk to the voter.
Once you think you completely understand the public mind, you learn you do not understand it. And the thing that you have to do is continually watch for, monitor, keep an open mind about what the public believes, and then to serve your candidate, given that information, what is the best message?
Which candidate for president can you really count on to be tough on crime?
Who is the best messenger? What is the best context?
I wish people could see him as I see him, and as thousands of people see him.
What is the best tone?
He didn't vote for you. Why should you vote for him?
What is the value that we want to drive, and what is the emotional response we want to generate?
4, 3, 2, 1.
But do ads have time to communicate all that information? And more importantly, do they give us enough time to think about what they're saying?
We've gotten to the point now where it's so expensive to buy the time that you're really down to the 30-second spot. And if you want to be horrified, next year we're going to be down to the 15-second spot.
Now candidates and consultants are turning more and more to cable and using its lower rates to buy time for infomercials that are 30 minutes or longer and to target specific messages to specific audiences.
with the multiplicity of choices that most viewers and consumers of the news have today, we're going to see more spots produced for narrower audiences, that is, narrow casting.
So what lies ahead for the Living Room campaign? Perhaps a not-too-distant future where research, technology, and cable television combine to bring different campaigns into different living rooms.
Eventually, we'll be able to literally micro-campaign to people. We'll be able to, through the use of cable and what we know about the cable subscribers, be able to take messages directly to people that they're really interested in. So we might do a commercial, for instance, about the environment, and we would send that down the wire to those people that are members of environmental organizations or people that responded to a poll in some way. So a subscriber next door to you might be looking at a different commercial than you're looking at because they have a different problem with a candidate or they have a different construct of the election. That's how sophisticated this could get.
Yet for all the changes to come, we can be sure some things will remain the same. Incumbents will run on their records.
In 2 short years as president, he has brought us peace, helped turn the economy around, and made us feel proud again.
And challengers will continue to attack them on it.
On February 11th, 1964, in Washington, President Lyndon B. Johnson said, "We are a much beloved people throughout the world."
Is this what President Johnson means when he says we are much beloved?
In turn, challengers will proclaim the changes they can bring.
We can control inflation. We did it in California, and we can do it for America.
And challengers will be forced to defend their records, too.
And Michael Dukakis promises to do for America what he's done for Massachusetts.
However the battle's fought, you can be sure the battleground will always be your living room.
Radio, print, all other media take a bit of a backseat to television when it comes to political advertising, because that's where you get famous. That's where your personality either shines or falls on the floor, on television.
This year, the candidates are exploiting yet another television technique, talk shows, as a convenient way to bypass tough questions from reporters and talk directly with voters. It's one more weapon in the arsenal of the Living Room campaign. And, of course, for better or worse, presidential commercials are here to stay. Every 4 years, television advertising reasserts its enormous power in the choosing of the president. As long as you watch television, presidential hopefuls will use it as the way to win your vote. I'm Bill Curtis.